Well, if you'd like to say anything, I guess you can just dump it into the chat, and I'll do my best to follow along with the chat. And so no worries if your mic is not working. And it's optional to to turn on your camera if you want, right? I don't force anybody. So bear with me one second. All right. There she is. How you doing, Amy? Good to have you. You're muted, by the way. So no worries.
Got it.
There you
Hey
are.
there, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks for showing up to my webinar that we're doing. This is for the real estate customers that we have. And so today I had something, it was an issue with somebody this week in which they were uploading data. They wanted to make kind of like a mass upload no, they wanted to update, but in bulk. And so I want to system mail function. Not sure what that's referring to, Dell, but um, maybe if you can elaborate a little bit more, I'll be able to help you with that. But so yeah, so what I wanted to talk to, oh, she left. Okay. Um, what I wanted to, I guess, showcase is that whole situation with like uploading data, things in that kind of things that fall underneath that subject. So hopefully, let me go ahead and share my screen. So this is our CRM. This is the little sandbox we use just to do some demos and things like that. And so when talking about uploading data, there's these two buttons, right? So this is the arrow going up, which is uploading information. And then you have to where you can download your data, right? So not sure if you knew, but you could filter from many different categories. Let's just say if it's referral source, you could search by referral source of any sort, for sale by owner. Let's see if we've got any. Let's do not empty. And then it will tell me who is using what, and we can see what we can filter. So we've got some with garage sale. So it looks like not many are using. However, you can filter. And let's say you wanted to download this report. Let's say you need to send it over to a VA, or if you've got a sales agent or another agent and you want to, and you're accustomed to just pull the leads in an Excel, well, then you could do so, right? And how you would do that is essentially select them all. And now we've got not only you can check here the 6 contacts, but now we've got the 6 selected. And now you can download, right? Now you can do the visible columns, which if it's just specific information that you want somebody to have, then this is a great option. If it is something that you are going to be using, I would even suggest, right, just so that you have a copy of your data is weekly. Come to here, highlight your whole database. And in fact, you don't have to, I don't think you have to highlight your whole database. You can just download all columns. And if you wanted to do the visible 6, you could. So these selected 6, if I wanted to download in that, just those 6 in a file, I could. If not, I can uncheck this and it's going to download your whole database. So I would say it's always good to do that every once in a while, just in case, something happens, or if you're offline, you've got, your database there on your hard drive in which you could go through it if you needed to. Not having a cell phone or not cell phone, but internet, then you could work offline per se. So to discuss a little bit about, downloading this, let me show you. You would essentially just start the download. And now up here, you'll see that you've downloaded a file. Whoops. And let me see, I hope this doesn't, there they are. had a lot of files. Let's let these go through and finish. Just like, let me go ahead and stop this real quick. And okay, so that is the 6 that I want. So I want to keep this, but I want to minimize that one, minimize, 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 minimize. All right, so now let me go ahead and share my screen again. Okay, so now we've got those 6 people, right? You can see here. And now if I needed to email this to send it off to somebody, I could, and it would have, in this one, I downloaded all the columns. So this is going to have everything that is applied to this account. You can see all of the columns are up at the top in its own header. And this also gives you insight as to any master action plans that you'd possibly be using, text messages last received, how many were received, sent messages, the last time they were read, um, if they were read, how many were sent. So good information, right? Especially if it's to an agent, you can kind of get some details of what's going on. If they've got any action plans applied, you'd be able to see that. Let's see what else. You got the do not call or email, you got the contact source. If you have a team of people, well, then now you've got the owners, so who's on what. And then you've got all of these categories, right? So this all lives within the contact, right? So all of these categories you see here are essentially all of these categories up here at the top header. And so you can, if you have any questions as to what kind of information should go into these cells, you can actually hover over these little red dots, and this will tell you that this type is a text. So anything from letters and numbers and characters will fit into this area. Same with like the last name. Email is a little bit specific, so it's any valid email format will save. If it's not, just make sure you've got the @ symbol, you've got the mail server per se, and then you've got a .com or whatever, might be the email extension. But that would be the only thing. I would just make sure that it has the @ symbol. Sometimes I've seen people put other symbols in there and then they can't understand, but they're not putting the @ symbol. And I don't know how they get the other symbol unless it was maybe imported from a list or something like that. But that I've seen that be a case. So just be careful with that. And then like with the alternate phone, it is a phone format. So brackets or split by dashes, or just straight 10 digits. Both of those or all of those will take. And so if you ever have any questions as to what kind of information can go here, so like this one, the preferred communication style is, it's whatever's existing in the list. So how would you find that out is, let me move this over. Let's find this category is right here. So these are the options that you would have in order to select. So if it's not verbatim, then they won't stick. So just make sure, like, let's say in your head you have phone number, so you put the hashtag. That wouldn't, and if you put that into this Excel over here, and you were to put phone hashtag, obviously that's not gonna work, and it'll just ignore it and not upload it and actually error out. So to avoid that, what you can do is you can edit, you can manage items, and then you can just simply copy this and maybe paste it into another document in which you have all of these things noted so that you know what are the options you can use. Plus, you could just copy paste verbatim. How you doing, David? Um, you can copy them verbatim into the field, and then that way you can get that to stick when you do the upload. So let me see here with like the address. Yep, text, city, state is what what's in the drop down. So those are all, if you haven't seen, these are all the states. So it's just two capital letters. And I think they even have Canada in there as well. And then you have the option for others, and you can manage items. So if you needed to put in um, other states, maybe from other countries, you would be able to do so. Let's see what other kind of things does this have for us. Title, text. All right, so with birth dates, it is month, date, year. And so it is the two slots for the month, two digits for the day, and then it's the full year. Now, when using the birthday, let's say you wanted to smart tag the birthday in an email conversation. So you wanted this information to show up. And then sometimes if you write to somebody, it's like it's the month and the day that's important, right? It's not necessarily the year. And if you put the person's year that they, that they have their birthday or that they were um, birthed on, I guess, um, it'll actually show it. So if you don't want the year to show, put 1900. If you put in 1900, we've made a special rule within our system that it will not, when they smart tag it, it will not show the year. So it'll just say the month and the day, right? So just in case you've got some birthdays in there for some young ladies, maybe it might not be too good to put the year there so that they see how old they are. So definitely play that by ear. And if you don't want the year to show when you use it as a smart tag, put the year as 1900. So that is a special case. Let me see job titles text. Same with the referral source, lead labels. These are also multi-select, so it's from the options that we have available, and it's telling you if you wanted to apply, let's say on an upload, you would separate them with commas. So if you had more than one lead label that you wanted to get applied, you would use a comma to separate those values. Same with the existing items. Well, so this is buyer and seller. So this is essentially what's listed in the buyer and seller category. Same with the relationship status. Let's see here, group, internal tags. Internal tags, I wouldn't say that a lot of people use those. However, the ones that do, you could do that on an upload. Like if you had a list of 20 new customers, you could use, you could apply those internal tags straight from the upload. Categories is also multi-select. We got the spouse's name, so this is text. We got another birthday field. And I think you guys get the gist. Anytime you have any questions as to what is the field and what does it take, you can essentially come to this download, to this Excel, and you can see it by just hovering over the little red dot. So let's see if so now when uploading data, you can do two things, right? You can upload it from a file. So if you have a file, you can simply just click here, or you can drag and drop the file in there. You can select the file and then you can push it, or you can, let me grab this files, or you can essentially highlight, let's say I guess we can use the ID. So if you highlight this, you just simply copy it and then you go to the paste data and then you just paste all of that into there and you use the tab as uh, the separating, well, it's what is it called? The delimiter. So you can use tab, right? So if you're doing CSV, I think comma or space might be for that one. But because I copied it from an Excel, it's tab, and then you do is hit next, and you'll see that what it will do is it'll recognize everything, put it in its place. And so what this is asking you to do is essentially highlight the header, right? So these are where all your um, columns may be. Now, the issue that somebody lived recently was they, I think they filtered a group within their CRM, and then they downloaded the file. But when they went to go upload the file, they only uploaded first, last, first and last, and I think email and phone number. And those contacts had other categories applied, right? It had other information. Well, by them just ignoring all of that information and just applying the email, the phone, and the first and last name, and then obviously moving to the next page, which is the mapping. And so what they did was they only did these four. They didn't do the rest. And when they went ahead and applied the data or the upload, it removed all the other data and it wiped all of what she had. Sorry about that. Of all of what she had saved to those contacts. So you can just imagine what kind of headache she has to go through now, because when speaking with the developers, they're they weren't able to create a script, or they weren't able to retrieve that data, right? So what it's causing me to do is to actually go through with the file and go to each one of these contacts and pull the history, and then find out each and everything that got wiped out, and then essentially just put it back into the file. And then I have to then re-upload that file so that all of that information can get reapplied back to. So it's going to cause a little bit of a headache, but at the end of the day, um, it was just a little bit more of a mistake on her behalf. And so a great reason why to bring this up now, so that if you guys have a lot of saved data and you do this with, let's say, 300, at the moment, it would cause you to have to go into each and every one and to find out what information you lost and then copy paste it and save it to the contact. So a little bit of a manual work to do. So in in and that was the other reason why I also said downloading your data, once a week, kind of pick a day, put an alarm, download your database. That way you would have a copy. And if you had that copy, then we could immediately just push that database back into the system, and all of that information would get reapplied. So I will show you just in a second how to do that as well. But what we're doing here now is mapping. So all of these categories have all of these categories. All of these categories essentially are matching exactly what you have in your system. So just in case you get you get a new list from a company, in some cases, they're going to have phone number, email, first and last name. Sometimes the first and last name is all in one field. And so in order to get that into each field, you would have to split that up. Um, but in regards to like these titles, sometimes they're already verbatim, but in some cases they're not. And so I've seen some files come in that say address 1, and then it has address 2, and then city and state. Sometimes it'll have a slash Providence. Um, those won't be recognized because they're not verbatim. But if they were, then you can see, kind of like my situation, everything was recognized. So I like to use files that I've downloaded from our system first, and then possibly take the other data and put that data into the fields. That way I have the header 100% correct. And when coming to upload this data, I don't have to spend any time. And prior to not kind of paying attention to that, I would almost, and sometimes when helping people with their data, spend 20, 15 minutes just going through counting which ones were done, going to the file, and that back and forth, I can tell you, is crazy. So that's that's a little bit of the headache, which if you follow this instruction, right, and go ahead and map it correctly and match up all the names with all the columns, you'll see that this is no work at all. Just a matter of um, now that's basically just making sure that everything is applied. If it isn't, you'll definitely see, and you can't, like I can't go ahead. If the address is already used, I can't use any of these other ones. And so essentially, because they're all grayed out, this tells me that it's done appropriately. And now I can hit next, and it will then begin to push up that data. And now you've made an upload or updated some information. So another thing, what we can do just to kind of showcase it. Well, first, is there any questions that I've caused? Has anybody kind of run through this or had questions in regards to like uploading data? All right. So let me just here. Let's go ahead and make some changes uh, to let's what can we well here we can do if I remember correctly preferred communication style. Okay, good. So we can do this guy that wants email. We can do phone. Oops, if I could spell it correctly, phone. And then what was the other one? Text, if I remember correctly. Yep. And so let's make the rest of these text. And let's see some other categories that we can go ahead and add. And so essentially this is what you would want to do, but you want to pull the whole columns, because if you don't and you re-upload them minus those columns, it's essentially going to override those contacts and delete all of that information. And so let's go ahead and do seller, buyer, 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 seller, seller. And let's see what else. Oh, we can do some relationship status. Okay, so buyer, they got buyer, seller. Oh, they also got renter. And we've got the cold, hot, and warm. We've got dead lead. So let's go dead lead. Now I like to do copy paste, right? So if you wanted to do copy paste, what I would suggest is to pull up the manage items, and now you can just kind of copy verbatim, and you can go in there, and then it's kind of it keeps the whatchamacallit, the second guessing down to little to nothing, and then zero mistakes. Um, so let's see what else. Can we? Oh, same with groups and spheres. If you needed to apply those, we can go to groups. Now with this one, it says it's a comma. So if I wanted to apply multiple of these, all I have to do is split them up or just put a comma, and I'll show you what it looks like. Cold leads. Let me make sure, no space, there we go. And then we can do forward on this other one, forward 50, and we can call it a client. All right, so we've got some changes, some updates, right? Now, you don't have to save this file, right? You could, I mean, obviously it's good to save just in case something happens. However, The way that I'm going to choose to upload this is with the copy paste. So let's go to the upload tab and let's use the copy paste. And what I would do here is essentially just grab from here, copy it all, click and paste, select tab, and go next. And now you can see how everything is recognized. The little changes that I made and I added, you can see that they're here. Relationship status, we've got these ones. Oops, that's changing the header, sorry. But those are there. You can see the comma, so they're splitting them up. So now we can go to next. Because I'm using the same file from our system, everything is mapped. So you can see that here, there's no errors, plus the ID. That's important because if there wasn't any ID, this system would take these as duplicates because they would match up the first and last name, email, and phone number, and that would bring them to dupes and they wouldn't get uploaded. But because I have the ID numbers, essentially it's recognizing that these are existing client or existing contacts, and it will simply just update them. So mapping's done. Now I have to basically just go. Now this is what's good is it will tell you right here. So we've got one red line. Let's see what is arrowing out. So it says this commercial. Now I'm pretty sure I copied and pasted it, but you can essentially click when it comes to these multi-selects, and you can, of the options here, if you needed to correct it, you could go ahead and correct it, right? So if I needed to add even ones that I forgot that I needed to, I could do that on the fly, and I could set these up, right? And now these will get applied on the upload, but now you can see that there's no longer any kind of red um, highlight. Now, I've uploaded hundreds and thousands of leads at a time. And it's, if you start to see that the data won't take because you do have errors, you want to think of this show invalid rows only. And when you do that, it will basically take only the invalid ones and show them to you, so then you can address them. Hopefully it's not a lot. If it's a lot, then I would suggest maybe possibly going back, tidying up your Excel first, then moving forward, right? And then come back to this, and then you'll have less little errors that you'd have to deal with. But this here will save you so much time. So just know that you have it. So now that I have no data is found, essentially it's telling me everything is done correctly. And now I can just hit submit. So let's give the system a couple of minutes to do this, right? What I want to do here is I want to make available the group, preferred communication style. I want to do, what is it? Relationship status. What else? What else? What else? We did preferred communication. I didn't touch referral source, buyer and seller. Relationship status group, we got that. Those are about it. So nothing has been applied yet. So what we can do is just hang tight. In the meantime, any questions with what I've shown, like with uploading data? Anybody have any questions? One thing I can say about this is you're it's probably best that at some point in time that you do download and create kind of like a template of your form, right? Of your contact list to a contact, essentially. Um, Why? Because you can, if you get data from somewhere else, you can paste it into these, and then you'll have it all mapped and ready to go, right? With all the information where it needs to be. And then it's a matter of just dragging this, highlighting it, copying it, and then going to the upload and seeing that it's been uploaded. So really it would help you to possibly, once you've decided and you've laid down the foundation that we discussed in our first video, which was all of these, I think it was first or second, which is these columns, right? You want to make sure that the data that you have here is the data that is important for you to know of the customer. And as I've shown before, you can come here, and I wouldn't suggest to change these top ones, but I've seen people not use preferred communication style and use it for something else, kind of like a workflow. Um, Now, you can't change any of these categories, but you can create your own. That's what he did. And he had like his own little sales flow within this category. He named it something else, and that's what he was using. So can't really say anything about it. You know, maybe I would have possibly put it somewhere else to still utilize the preferred communication style. I think it's important. With now the climate is everybody's trying to spam. You've got phone carriers. In some cases, if your material looks like it's spam or doesn't come from a a good place, then in some cases they may not even send it to the person. So that's why we set up um, the registry when for our customers that do this. You get the A2P registry. It does have a cost, right, for sending out text messages through the system. However, with paying your registry and paying the monthly fee for it, which is $5, that will essentially guarantee that what you're saying is, I am a business owner that is doing this not maliciously, but with intent and good intent. And so those messages won't get blocked at all, right? So that's a good thing. But I think it's also a good thing to identify so that you can send the material and the messages to the people how they want it instead of, in some cases, pissing people off because they don't want to get emails, right? But they'll take a text or they'll take a phone call. So I definitely feel that this is good to have. Um, but let's see if, let me see here. How did I find these? Okay, so not empty. Let's show results and see if any of our upload has taken. Oh, don't tell me it removed all of my, geez, geez Louise. I think preferred communication style, buyer and seller. Now let's take a look. Oh, not too shabby. So as you can see, we, from downloading these and adding the information into the file and then simply just pushing it back up into the system, you can see that it recorded relationship status. We've got spheres and we got multiple spheres to take, right? So we've got these two. Now that was simply just by putting a comma and making sure that they're obviously verbatim. It looks like this commercial one didn't stick. However, a real quick fix of just clicking the field and then it'll give you the drop down. And so this is how you update data so that you don't override and delete any of the important information that you have with the contact, right? So just be sure that you pull all the columns, even if you don't need them, even if they're empty, that's fine, but you still have to map them and you still have to do it completely. Because if you don't, you're essentially just going to go override and it's going to cause a headache. And what it's like, the solution for the young lady that I'm helping with today is going through all of her categories and seeing um, making a note of which ones were before, and then taking this and then saving it into the file. So I have to then go back and put all that information into the corresponding cells. And then I'm just going to go ahead and push because it's like a list of 65 people. So relatively enough to, I think it took me maybe like 10, 15 minutes to kind of get through 7. And so I think I'll be getting faster as I go, but some had a bunch of things that were overwritten, some didn't. So I think it's just a real hit and miss. But essentially, this is what you would need to kind of go through when it comes to uploading data, updating data, and making sure that you don't overwrite it and shoot yourself in the foot. Let me see here. Mic not working, but it seems straightforward. Absolutely. Definitely straightforward. But it is something that I wanted to discuss. I think if um, this agent just yesterday by accident did what she did, I could just imagine, looking at those 60 people and just seeing first name, email, telephone number might be extremely stressful as to where's all my data. The good thing is that the contacts, she didn't delete them. So all of their information is still here, like all the emails that they've positively sent and all that kind of stuff. So contact's still alive, but I could see how somebody could get startled with that. But yeah, so this is why I wanted to kind of go over this for everybody to make sure that you don't cause this kind of problem for yourself. I don't know. Is there any other questions that you guys might have when doing this? Do you guys feel safe to manipulate your own data, or would you just rather not touch it? And if you had to edit something, do it from here, kind of manually, one by one. Um, what are your thoughts? Oh, you don't have much. I will just assume that it is pretty straightforward, and hopefully you guys have the confidence to manipulate your guys' own data. If you guys need any help, right? Um, in the invites that I've sent you, in my signature, I have a book me. So feel free to book time with me if you have questions about your CRM and how we can make it obviously work with you. I think David is a huge fan of that, of of setting up little meetings with myself. He has a team of people, so I try to do my best to help their team utilize the CRM and get the most out of it. And so, if anybody on the call or watching the webinar later on, feel free that you can use that link in my signature to set up some time, and we can look at how to make the system work with you or set up action plans. The topics are endless. Oh, here, let me go. We got some tests. So I did a test upload before. A full upload, yes, for sure. Always welcome your time and knowledge. Well, thank you, David. I definitely appreciate that. Um, and yeah, I think once you get into a couple of sessions, I'll definitely kind of help align the system with you and with the things that you're doing. And the more the system is aligned with you, the more you're going to be in it, the more you're going to be using it. And definitely the more you use it, I've seen people, you know, find leads and find sellers and find people who needed help with listing a home through their own contacts, through creating emails, and then going through their own lists and possibly maybe looking at zip codes, kind of focusing on specific counties, and then emailing, given material and sparking engagement. And then through that conversation, there was one lady in which she created it was something about the tax law in her city or in her town that was changing, and it was going to affect people selling homes, or I forget exactly what it was, but she wanted to kind of create an email about it and send it out to everybody. And so she did. She grabbed a couple of counties and she sent this email out, and somebody came back to her and expressed how, I think he was a lawyer, and um, he knows his taxes pretty well, and he agreed with everything that she said. So not only did he validate that, she knew what she was talking about. um, I think he later on through conversation asked her to help him with listing a home. And so that came through creating some content, finding, people within your own list and sending stuff out. And so if we could do that more often and create our own leads, well, I think that would be the name of the game, I would say, and it would help people, right? Not have to pay money for leads. And this was something that you were able to generate for yourself. And so if you could reproduce that and continually do that a couple times a month, just imagine what kind of deals it could bring to the table. And so this is a little bit of what I wanted to discuss: uploading, and of course, highlight how you guys cannot shoot yourselves in the foot, because um, I would hate for that to happen to anybody else. So with that said, if we don't have any questions that I could help you guys with, um, definitely I thank everybody for showing up. Dave, Jess, there was Dell in the beginning, but I guess he or she dropped. But yeah, I hope to do more of this weekly webinar. So if you guys have Wednesdays free at noon Pacific, definitely come and what was it? Thank you so much for, yeah, no, thank you as well, David. And thank you to everybody else and everybody who's watching. So it was a pleasure. You guys have a great day, and see you next Wednesday. Alrighty. Ciao, ciao.